Testing 1, 2, 3. We are live. Welcome, everybody. My name is Andrew, and this is Rocket Future. Thanks for joining us today. This is our first stream back as Rocket Future. Super happy to be here. Super happy to be bringing you this stream. Today we are live at Starbase. We're actually at South Padre Island. We're taking a look at Starbase, and we're hoping to see a potential static fire of Booster 7 today. So just recently, Ship 24 was taken off of Booster 7 in preparation for additional testing. So we think that Booster 7 is good for a static fire. Now, the chopstick arms on the launch tower on the right-hand side there have been moved all the way up to the top, which generally speaking is a great indication that we are planning for a static fire. There's always a chance that they're going to do a spin prime ahead of any static fire testing today. So if we see that, that isn't beyond what might be expected. So some key indicators of what we're looking at today. If you look at the base of the vehicle, where all that venting is coming from, we believe that is the orbital launch mount purging, probably using some nitrogen to cool everything down and purge the lines of anything that's not supposed to be there. Generally speaking, after that purge activity stops is when we start to see the vehicle get fueled up and progressed towards a static fire. So I'm here. I'm going to be hanging out here. I'm going to be doing some work on some stuff. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop those in the chat. And at some point, I'm actually going to try to get a face cam here too, so I can be a little bit more personal here and answer any questions that you have. So we are still planning on seeing a static fire test here today. I'm going to continue getting stuff up for now. And for now, I'll leave you with some ambient sound from here, South Padre Island. Thanks for tuning in. This is Andrew with Rocket Future. Testing, testing. All right, so we are pretty much all set up here. Over the course of today's window, I'm going to also see if I can get a second camera set up. But for now, I did just want to greet anybody who has joined us at this time. My name is Andrew. This is Rocket Future, and we're here covering the Booster 7 testing today at Starbase. We expect to see up to a static fire potentially today. So there is an overpressure notice that has been published, and the chopsticks on the orbital launch tower have been raised. These are great indications that SpaceX is working towards a static fire for today. Now, I think they've already done some kind of less visible tests on the booster today. It vented quite a bit earlier. I assume just whatever it was being pressurized with, venting it out. And we're waiting to see that orbital launch mount purging stop. And shortly after that purge stops, we should see the booster start filling up with liquid oxygen and hopefully eventually methane. And that should be an indication that a static fire would be imminent at that time. So we are just hanging out here, answering any questions. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to drop those in the chat. In the meantime, like I said, this is our first stream back, so I'm just kind of working on everything in the back end here, just to make sure everything's working good and trying to slowly make some improvements as we're going through the stream here. But thanks so much for joining. It means a lot, and let's hope we see a successful static fire Booster 7 today. We'll talk a little bit about what the plan is for Booster 7 and Starship in general just shortly. So stick around to talk about when we might see this thing launch. But for now, stay tuned, and I'll check back with you shortly. All right, I see some people hanging out in the chat. Katona David, hi, from Space Junkie. Just want big shout out to Space Junkie today. GFG Development says rocket launch. Probably no launch today, but we want to see this static fire today. That would be a great indication that we're closer to see a Starship launch. Welcome. I'm gonna have a hard time with some of these names from from the Space Junkie. I welcome you all. Thank you so much for popping in. Lou, welcome. Martin, thank you. Santantica, welcome from Hungary. Yeah, all these Hungarian names are tough. Tree, welcome. Tomas, Zoltan, Pui, Tomas. Again, I'm sorry about these pronunciations, but I appreciate y'all stopping in and saying hi. So yeah, let's take a quick moment to kind of discuss what the plan is for Booster 7 and Ship 24 and when we might see an orbital launch out of Starbase here. So you may recall just a few weeks ago, a couple months ago, we saw a full static fire of Ship 24. All 6 engines on Ship 24 have been static fired at the same time. So as far as we know, I think Ship 24 is in a place where it is kind of ready for orbit. So up next is Booster 7. Booster 7 has gone through a lot of static fire testing at this point, including a long duration static fire. So I think they're just working up to try to get to that 33 engine static fire. That's something we still expect to see. And then after SpaceX gets to that 33 engine static fire, we hope to see an FAA launch license come through and then maybe an orbital launch attempt shortly after. So if there is a static fire today, nobody knows exactly how many engines are going to go, but I think the estimates are, somewhere between 10 and 20. They've already done quite a few of them. I heard somebody say 16. We'll have to see. But if this test goes well, we should see maybe a couple more static fire tests, slowly getting up to a bigger and bigger number until we hit that 33 engine static fire. From that point, I would personally expect them to restack Ship 24 on top of Booster 7 and complete any additional tests that they want to do of a full stack. Will there be a static flyer at all with a full stack? We're not sure. But once this thing gets full stacked, once Ship 24 is on top of Booster 7 again, as long as no problems have come up from testing, that will be a great indication that SpaceX is real close to an orbital flight attempt. So that's something I want to see here in the next few weeks. Let's see if they get this thing restacked after some static flyer attempts, and then I think we're in real short order to that flight attempt. So that's kind of a quick update of where SpaceX is with the Starship vehicle and trying to get to that orbital flight attempt. Treefingers asks, what is Space Junkie? Space Junkie is an awesome YouTube channel based in Hungary that is covering all sorts of space news and Starship and everything. And they want to bring this content to the people of Hungary with that speak the Hungarian language. And I think it's really cool to see some countries outside of the United States get excited about seeing this stuff, because again, this program isn't just for us here in the United States. This is a vehicle that could change the world. So to see Space Junkie want to bring this content to the people of Hungary in their own language is such a cool thing. So welcome everybody. I really appreciate you stopping by. Treefingers ask, am I on SPI? Yes, I'm currently on South Padre Island. This is about as close as you can get unless you have property on Highway 4 when these road closures happen. So this is about the best vantage point you can get for these static fire attempts and launch as well when that happens. Quite a bit of either dust or something in the air today, so we don't have the cleanest view of the ship today, but it's a pretty decent view. There's definitely plenty of clearer days out here, but there are some that are worse as well, so I'm just happy that we can see it and we get a decent view of it today. Should have a great audio of the static fire as well. If we see a static fire attempt, I think you should be able to hear that today too. Sorry about all these notifications going off in the background. Laszlo says, hi Andrew, you are an honorary Hungarian from now. Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate the warm welcome. Y'all are great. Peter says, thanks for helping Space Junkie. It's no problem. My pleasure. Welcome from Hungary. Welcome. Tree says, can you hit the blue... Tree says, can you hit the Blue Marlin for some Tecate Light and hot dogs? I had Tree Fingers and a few other friends visited me last weekend, and we had a really good time on the island here. It was such a blast. It was an honor to have so many people come down and check out what's going on down here. They got to see Starbase. We got to share some stories, and it was such a great time. Lou says there's no Andrew in the frame. Let me see what I can do for you, Lou. Let me see what I can do for you. Let me give you a quick sneak peek. There we are. Hello everybody, my name is Andrew. This is Rocket Future. Thanks for joining us today. This is not the camera that I want to have set up with Facecam. This is just the one on the laptop right now. But this is how I'm broadcasting right now. I'm in the back of the Jeep. I got the power going. I got Starlink running the stream and everything. So I just wanted to say hi real quick. This is what I look like. Yeah, this is the Rocket Future Mobile. This is what allows me to come out with all this equipment and make this all happen. So thanks for joining everybody. This is an exciting time. I'm really happy to be back with Rocket Future and doing all this content. So that's enough for the face cam for now. But while I do have face cam on, I do want to let you know that at some point I want to have like a news style situation going where on orbital launch attempt, I'll have a bunch of people around me, and we'll have a face cam, and we'll be interviewing people and just seeing everybody excited about launch and stuff. It's gonna be great. So tune in for sure. But hello. Again, anybody that is coming from Space Junkie, I appreciate y'all popping in to say hi. Your support is greatly appreciated. Space Junkie is awesome. I'm really glad they're doing what they're doing out there. So everything is closed down on the beach side, Tree asks. So I'm going to give it a quick moment here because I see my Starlink is just a little bit low on the bit rate. So SPI is completely open. There's nothing shut down on South Padre Island for these tests, but Boca Chica Beach completely closed off. So Tree, since you were here, pretty much past that border checkpoint where that intersection is, that is where they kind of close the road when these tests are happening. Lou says, is that smoke or vapor? I guess kind of vapor if you had to pick one, but it's probably just like the temperature differences between the gases coming out of the OLM and the air around it. Those are that's probably liquid nitrogen at the moment, and it's just interacting with the atmosphere around it, kind of causing these clouds to form. Definitely not smoke though. Helen says vape. All right, bear with me for just a moment. I'm going to hop off of comms and just kind of check in with any updates. And I'll be back on commentary in just a second. One thing to note is it does look like the orbital launch mount purging has stopped. So I would expect to see the vehicle getting fueled shortly. So if we start to see the base of the booster get a little bit frosty, that is a great indication that the testing is moving forward and that we could be seeing a static fire today. So that's the next thing we're keeping an eye out for, is some frost building up on the booster. Might be hard to tell because we have that venting coming from the orbital tank farm that's kind of crossing over the booster right where that frost line would be. But I might be able to tell a little bit better with my eyes here. So I will keep y'all updated. But this is good. This is a good step forward. So keeping our eyes out on the milestones that SpaceX will be hitting. That would indicate we're still on for a static fire test today. Just want to take a moment to say hi and thanks for joining to Vigo Islander and Dev47. Welcome, welcome, and thank you for joining today. Coming back on to commentary here. Take a moment just to welcome anybody that has joined. Thanks for hanging out here. We're hanging out waiting to see Booster 7 testing today to see if we get up to a static fire. So far, everything is looking good to indicate that we could see a static fire today. Next thing we expect to see is some frost building up on the booster. keeping my eye on that. And then after that, we'll be looking out for a static fire. I stated a little bit earlier that it's possible we see a spin prime prior to a static fire today. And I'm trying to keep an eye on below the booster to see if we do see any of those spin primes. It's kind of hard to tell with the viewing conditions today. Quite a bit of, kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like usually it's Saharan dust in the sky. I don't know where it's from today, but yeah, it's a pretty dusty day. Not the best viewing conditions, so I can't really tell if there's a spin prime going on below the booster at any point so far. But obviously when there is a static fire, it will be very visible. We should be able to hear it, and it should be awesome. So stay tuned for that. One thing I want to bring up is I'm impressed by Starlink today. So this stream is being brought to you through Starlink. So I got a dish on the back of my Jeep here, and the broadcast is going up to space with Starlink, and then being hopped around Starlink satellites, however that works, back down to a ground station and to you, wherever you are viewing this from. It's been a couple weeks since I've streamed on Starlink, and it is doing a lot better than it was doing a couple weeks ago. It's a nice, strong connection. Occasional drops in bitrate, but nothing too crazy. So that's really good to see. I don't know if it's just because a lot of people from this area have moved out for the quote-unquote winter that they have down here, or if maybe Starlink has just made some improvements. But either way, it's looking good. It is looking good, and I'm happy to see it. So that'll allow us to bring you some good quality content from these tests coming up. From time to time, a boat will pass through our view. Hopefully not during the static fire, but if it does, it does. Just kind of the nature of being on the canal here. We're on the southern tip of South Padre Island. This is where the opening to the Port of Brownsville Canal is. So there's a lot of ships coming through here. Sometimes you get to see some cool ships like Kitty Hawk. That was a aircraft carrier that was being decommissioned. Came through here. Really cool to see. Really cool to see. If you have any questions about what's happening here today with Booster 7 or SpaceX in general, anything related to Starbase or space at all, NASA, SLS, feel free to drop those questions in the chat. I'm happy to answer any of those for you, or at least do my best. Tree Fingers here is DT's bird. Yeah, those are the grackles down here. Those things are crazy. At some point, I am going to try to get this other camera hooked up and redo my introduction, just so I can kind of save it off and use it for some future videos, like promo videos. So I'm going to keep working on that. Welcome, I think, Andre, welcome. Thank you. For anyone just joining, we are waiting on the next indication that SpaceX is preparing for a static fire booster 7. We're looking for a frost ring on the booster. Once we see a frost ring, that will indicate that fueling has started the vehicle and that the preparations for static fires continue. Just catching up on some stuff out here, so feel free to drop any questions you have in chat, and I'll do my best to answer those for you. Just hopping between off and on commentary, but I'll jump back on when I notice anything, or when we're imminent for static fire. We should be able to hear the static fire too. I'll stop commentary about 5 minutes, 10 minutes before the static fire, and I'll crank the volume up. That way you can hear. It's a little windy out here today, but I think you're gonna be able to hear it. So more updates shortly. And actually, just as I say that, I do have an update for you. It might be hard to tell on video, but I can see that there is a frost line growing on the base of booster 7. So we are continuing the steps that are required for static fire. So this is good. Fueling the vehicle has begun, and we might be able to see a static fire today. I think if we do see a static fire today, it's probably going to be the highest number of Raptor 2 engines that have ever static fired. So it should be an awesome sight. So we're getting closer. Sorry about that, my mic just dropped. I'm sure that was loud. All right, everybody. So at this point, I would keep a close eye on the base of booster 7. I would expect that we've got to be like fairly close here to a static fire. Could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or a half hour. I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to keep looking for those indicators for when it would be imminent. I should know when we're in short order for the static fire, but just in case they end up doing a spin prime or something else, just keep an eye on booster 7. We're in the configuration where anything could really happen at any time. So we're going to hope for nominal testing today, which would we should get an indication ahead of time that we're about to get a static fire, but we're at that time. And to answer your question, how long to fuel? Kind of hard to say. Generally speaking, the more engines they go for a static fire, the longer it'll take, because they'll use more fuel. And we don't really know how many engines they're going for, but it's probably 10-20 minutes from when they start, at the least. But it could be over an hour. I think it's honestly really hard to say. It's a little early for us to be able to put a time correlation between how many engines are going to static fire and how long it'll take to fuel. But that is a good question. I should, next time I see a frost ring start, next test, we'll see how long it takes for it to get to its peak until we get the static fire. Or we could look back on this video after and calculate it that way. Tree is also asking, what is a spin prime test? So yeah, I stated a couple times that it's possible that they just do a spin prime test today, or we could see a spin prime prior to a static fire. And a spin prime test is when they just load liquid oxygen through the engines of the vehicle, and all that liquid oxygen comes spilling out the bottom of the vehicle at once. This is how they test that the liquid oxygen side of the engines are good, and that the plumbing's working and everything. So the methane part of the engine isn't touched, but the liquid oxygen is tested. There's no ignition or no fire or anything like that during a spin prime test, but there would be a huge plume of vapor coming off, clouds coming out of the bottom of the vehicle. But again, with the overpressure notice put out today, I think more likely we'll see a full static fire. So standing by for that. Team space, David. I agree. Team space. I'm going to start mounting the microphone and stuff outside of the vehicle so we have it ready for spin prime. For if there's a static fire. So I am going to mute just for a couple seconds while I mount this thing outside so you guys will be able to hear the static fire. Okay, so while I was setting that up, we did have a spin prime test. So this was something I did potentially expect to see prior to the static fire. That might extend the window a little bit for when we actually get a static fire. So I would not say that a static fire is going to happen in the next 5 minutes. So generally speaking, we've seen them static fire the same amount of engines that they would do a. Sorry, let me restate that. A lot of times we see them spin prime the same amount of engines that they will eventually static fire. So that, from the look of what came out of the bottom of that vehicle, it looked like a lot of engines. So we'll have to see what it is going to do next. Will they depress the vehicle, or will they continue forward with the static fire? They still got plenty of time in their window. I think close to 7 hours. So yeah, we're just gonna hold tight and see if they're gonna continue forward with the static fire test. But we did have a spin prime. Now you might remember a couple months ago, Booster 7 did a spin prime test, which actually did end in an explosion at the base of the vehicle under the orbital launch mount. They were able to repair Booster 7 up to this point, and that's good. So I do see that the vehicle looks to be depressing. So we're gonna hold tight. There's still plenty of time in the window if they needed to if they wanted to recycle and do a static fire. But we'll have to see if there's an indication of that in a little bit. So stand tight, stand by. We're gonna see what's up next for Booster 7. That was a good indication, though, that there was no no anomaly seen during that spin prime test. So. I'll just take a moment to say thanks for joining and welcome to. I'm not gonna do good on this pronunciation, but Balint. Good to see you again. I saw you back in August. You were the guy running around with the camera. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure meeting you while you were out here. And Titan, welcome, Titan. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. If you are just joining us, welcome. My name is Andrew. This is Rocket Future. We're here with live views of Starbase and specifically Booster 7. SpaceX is testing Booster 7 today. They just had a spin prime. From our perspective, it looked like it was a success. Obviously, we don't see the data that they're seeing, but it looked pretty good from our side. No anomalies like we've seen with Booster 7 testing in the past. So all good stuff. We were hoping to see a static fire, and an indication that the spin prime could still indicate that they're doing a static fire today. So we're just waiting to see what happens with Booster 7 here. The overpressure notice is out. The arms are raised towards the top of the vehicle. These could have just been protection, being extra careful based on the last time that they had an explosion with Booster 7. When they were doing spin prime testing. However, it could also mean that they're going to try for a larger static fire today. So we're just waiting to see if they're going to recycle and go for the static fire. Mike Gibbons says, "Hey, where did that rocket's hat go?" So Mike was down here last week and he saw the booster fully stacked, or Starship fully stacked with the booster and Starship. However, they have removed Ship 24 off of Booster 7 in preparation to do additional testing today and probably next week. I would expect Ship 24 to be placed on Booster 7 again in pretty short order after we see some more static fire of the booster. So we'll have to wait and see. anybody just joining us here, just a quick update that we are waiting to see what Booster 7 does next, what SpaceX decides to proceed to a static fire. We did see a spin prime test just a little while ago, and we are just in a holding pattern to understand if SpaceX will continue testing today and go for a static fire. That is very much still on the cards for today. We'll keep you updated. I'm just working on some stuff back here, so I'll be jumping in and out of commentary, but I'll be here, so I'll keep you updated. So they went through, just to let you know, I have a stream up. You're fine, just want to let you know. So we were hoping that we would see a static fire already, but what they did was a spin prime. Are you familiar with that? So instead of actually igniting the engines, they just loaded liquid oxygen through the liquid oxygen turbo pumps in the engine, and it basically just looks like a dump of clouds at the bottom. Yeah. So the question is, so today they had the overpressure notice that went out, and they raised the arms all the way to the top of the tower. Usually that's before a static fire. So the question is, are they still planning on a static fire today, or did they just do those preparations just in case the spin prime didn't go according to plan? So we're waiting to see.
Oh, we drove around there this morning. We were asked to come back.
Yeah. Have you been over there yet?
Not since they built that. No, a long time ago when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But not since SpaceX was built.
Yeah, definitely try to make it back out there when the road's open. It's amazing.
We thought maybe go tomorrow as long as there's not a. We were looking for a schedule of events or something like that.
The Cameron County has a website for it.
Do they?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I saw you geared up, so I figured you knew what was going on.
As much as you can. They don't really tell everybody what's going on. It is. So I can either give you a URL, or I can tell you how to Google it to get to it.
Tell me how to Google it, because I'm terrible. My thumbs are too fat.
Just type in Boca Chica road closures in Google.
Road closures?
Yep. Boca Chica road closures, and then the first result should be Cameron County, Texas.gov.
CameronCounty.gov.
And then if you scroll down, they had one on the 9th, one on the 10th. Does not look like one scheduled for tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
There's always the chance that they do a last minute one tomorrow, but I doubt it.
If they had to postpone anything today, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Generally speaking, they'll put the road closure on there for Friday if they were going to use it, and just cancel it if they don't need it.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's not there is probably a good indication that they're not going to do anything tomorrow, but you never know.
Oh, so they had it closed for both days, Saturday. Okay.
Yep.
Well, thanks. Appreciate the info.
Yeah, no problem at all.
All right. You have a good day.
You too. Tree was asking if there's a lot of people that are viewing from SPI today, and actually, yeah, this is the most people I've seen down here. It seems like some of the other creators down here are starting to learn about this park, and they're setting up their cameras and everything. And yeah, no, there's definitely some folks coming down here to see it. It's not a huge group. It's maybe 8 to 10 people. But I've seen some videos from back when the launches and the hops happened, and there was a lot of people down here. So I'm looking forward to when they go for a launch. I think there's going to be tons of people down here. I gotta get here early and set up for when that happens. Tree says plug the channel. I usually do. I usually drop the line at the end of the conversation, just being, oh yeah, check out rocketfuture.org if you want to see what's going on. So he's still hanging out back there. I'll let him know. I'm gonna go check on my battery level. I'll be right back. Battery's looking good. I got about 6.5 hours to go on it. Only reason I don't have more is because the current laptop I'm using is a battery hog, and I don't need all this for the stream. At one point I did get another laptop for the streaming, but I had to return it. The touchpad was all broken up, and I've just been using this since. So we get plenty of battery out for most tests, as long as they don't go right to the end of the window. But I'll have to figure something out for the future, because we're gonna want to be able to do longer than 10-hour streams. Now, one thing I could do is hook the camera directly up to the battery. Connect the camera up to the battery, and also connect the camera right up to Starlink, and I could completely bypass the need for the laptop. The downside there is I'd have to figure out how to patch my audio in separately and figure out how to do the overlays. That wouldn't be too hard. I could just I could ship the video back to a computer running at my home, and run the overlays and everything from that computer. And that way I wouldn't have to worry about batteries. I'd probably get like 20 hours of battery if I did it that way. So that's something for me to look into. But now that we're running these streams up again, we got all these good ideas. And we might even have more than one camera at some point. So we'll figure it out. Actually, if anybody's listening in right now, I'm curious how the latency is. So let me know when you hear me say this. Just let me know when you're hearing this, and that'll help me know what the latency is. While we're waiting to see if Booster 7 is going to have some more testing today, I can bring you up to speed on what else has been happening down here at Starbase. So obviously we're wondering what the status on the next vehicles are. So Booster 7 and Booster 24, or Booster 7 and Ship 24 are currently on deck to for orbital launch attempt. That's currently what we believe to still be true. If anything was to happen to, if launch goes well and they actually get this thing off the ground, or if something happens to Booster 7 during testing, we think the next booster that would be up would be Booster 9. Now, Booster 8 was ready, and they rolled it down to the launch site. However, they eventually rolled it back to the rocket garden, which for me would sound like maybe they're moving on from Booster 8 onto 9. So they probably learned something with one of these boosters and are applying that change to Booster 9. So Booster 8 might be kind of old at this point as far as iterations of this vehicle. That could change, though. You never know. They could roll Booster 8 out from the rocket garden and go use it at some point. But Booster 9 is pretty much ready to do like cryo testing. So I would not be surprised if we see Booster 9 roll out from the bay and into the launch site, sometime relatively soon for testing. So that's boosters. Ship 25 was just rolled back a couple days ago, and I think 25 would be the next ship in line. So maybe ship 25 with Booster 9 might be the idea, but we'll have to wait and see. But 25 is pretty much ready for testing. I think it already went through some cryo testing, and Booster 9 is next up for testing for boosters. So that's where we're currently at. Obviously, some other vehicles are in the works. I think we've seen evidence of multiple ships and boosters coming down the line. Raptors showing up, Starlink showing up. So operations are definitely are at what seems like to be a new speed down here. So whether 24 and 7 get off the ground or something happens during testing, the next vehicles are pretty much ready to go. But let's hope these things get to space. I'm not seeing the frost line that I was seeing before, which is not unexpected. Generally speaking, they would depress the vehicle, and then they would prepare it for a recycle and start loading it back up. So if we start to see them loading the booster back up, that is a good sign that we are on track for static fire today. On the alternative side of things, if we see some vehicles lining up at the pad or something, which we can't see from this angle, that would be an indication that they might be moving for, they might be done testing for today. But no indication of that, so we're still hoping and fingers crossed for static fire today. It would be pretty awesome to get a static fire on our return stream today. That would be pretty awesome. So let's fingers crossed. One thing to note is that the orbital launch mount purge has started again. So when that purge stops, we might see that recycle happen. So I think I would expect to have an update for y'all sometime in the next 10 to 30 minutes on how it's looking for a recycle and a static fire today. But personally, I'm happy to see this purge event start. Welcome from Hungary. A lot of people from Hungary today. We appreciate you stopping by. Your support is super appreciated. Team Space. Bunch of people from Space Junkie stopping in today. Thank you so much. And just another update about Rocket Future. As you've heard me say a couple times today, this is kind of our first stream coming back to Rocket Future streams. So I'm super pumped to be doing this. I have a bunch of awesome ideas for streams coming up. So stay tuned for all that stuff. But the next big thing I need to do is kind of remake our layout here. You can see the old logo there, the SRF Solid Rocket Future logo. We're now just going by Rocket Future. And I want to change the look a little bit of our layout. So hopefully in the next stream we'll have a new layout. But yeah, I got so many cool ideas that I'm hoping to implement into these streams. So if you want to keep updated with what's happening down here at Starbase, please feel free to subscribe and put notifications on if you actually want to be alerted about what's happening down here at Starbase. I'm also going to cover some other space events. We're not going to be covering things like Starlink launches and that the stuff that has become kind of everyday life in the space industry. But we are going to stick to the most exciting parts. So human spaceflight, new launch vehicles, Starship development, any specific missions that are particularly cool. So those are the types of stuff that we'll be covering. So if you kind of only want to be alerted of those most exciting missions and stuff, I think this is the place for it. So we appreciate your support, whether it's with chatting or subscription or just watching the stream. Very much appreciated. It's great. I feel good getting back and doing this. So thank you so much. Welcome, Andras. Welcome from Hungary. Thank you for tuning in. We're just waiting to see if SpaceX is going to recycle for a static fire today. They've already done a spin prime test. Right now we got quite a bit of venting coming off the orbital launch mount. And when that stops, that should be an indication of what's happening next. Once that stops, we may see the recycle or we may not. So that'll be a good indication. So checking into road closures, it doesn't look like there's one scheduled for tomorrow at the moment. Whether they can add one or not, I am not sure. But generally speaking, they will they'll advertise a road closure and then cancel it if they don't need it. So I know there's a certain amount of Fridays that they can use if they decide to. But if they still hoping to see the static fire today, if they don't, I think the next opportunity might be Monday. But we'll have to hold tight. But hopefully that's not even a concern. Hopefully we can just get it off today. If you take a look at the base of the vehicle, it's getting even foggier. I think that might be water suppression. I mean, it couldn't have been a spin prime because they didn't have it loaded up. I think that must have been a water suppression test. That was cool. There was a brief moment there where I think I thought I screwed up and that we were about to see a static fire without any warning, but luckily I think it was just maybe a test of like the fire suppression or something, sound suppression. So they're still doing testing today. Good stuff. Let's hope they recycle. You know, if I was SpaceX, doing that test that we just saw would have been a great precursor to a static fire. You're gonna wanna use that during a static fire. So let's see if they recycle. That was cool. Quick update for anybody just joining us. My name is Andrew. This is Rocket Future. Waiting to see what's up next for Booster 7 testing. So far, we've seen a spin prime test and also it looked like the suppression system came on, so water at the base of the pad, or maybe. I actually kind of excited to look back on the footage to see what that looked like. But those are two things I would expect to see before a static fire. Still plenty of time in the window today. It goes until 8 p.m. Central Time. So that is, I think, 6 hours. So we'll see what's happening next.
I think I would. My shoulders are way above the
And the next thing I'm keeping an eye on is just this venting from the orbital launch mount itself. Generally speaking, we'll see this purge happen prior to propellant load. Now, we already saw that earlier before the spin prime. But when that venting stops, I think that's a good indication that we'll know soon after that point what the next steps are. So keep an eye on that venting coming from the launch mount. And when that stops, hopefully we'll know soon. While we're waiting for the next step here for Booster 7, I do want to show you one thing that we're doing here at Rocket Future. Give me a moment. I just want to quickly show you another way to keep in touch with what's happening down here at Starbase. So we've started doing postcards from Starbase on a monthly rotation. So if you want to get a postcard with some Starbase art, some pictures that I've taken down here, check out our Patreon. I actually don't know how to scroll down in this, but yeah. So we have these postcards that I will show you a picture of at some point, but it's a way to get some pictures from Starbase, and then on the back there's some information about what's happened at Starbase recently, the progression towards orbital flight tests, some stories about kind of what it's like to do rocket chasing down here and everything. So we're sending out on a monthly basis. You can find the Patreon link either on my Twitter, or you can just go to rocketfuture.org. And at the base of rocketfuture.org, you'll see a bunch of links to our social medias and everything. One of those will be Patreon. So you get a physical postcard to your mail via Patreon. I don't know why I can't scroll down, because I don't, OBS is funny that way. But I'll bring up a picture of them in a moment. There's the picture. So yeah, check out rocketfuture.org, scroll to the bottom of the page, click our Patreon if you want to get a physical postcard from Starbase every month. that orbital launch mount venting is still going strong. Still waiting to see what happens when that stops. Oh, hey, Project Dragon. Thanks for stopping by. Just seeing your message now. I appreciate you stopping by and watching the stream. One thing I'm just realizing now is that my Patreon link on rocketfuture.org is out of date since I've kind of rebranded. So I will put the Patreon link in the comments for anybody that is interested in getting a postcard from Starbase on a monthly basis. I promise I'll only pitch that one more time after I submit the real Patreon link in the chat here. Just a sec. All right, here it goes. Last time. So in the comments, I've just pasted a link to my Patreon page where you can sign up to get monthly physical postcards in the mail from Starbase. So I just wanted to update you with that link because the link on my site needs to be updated. So thanks for listening. Yikes, I just dropped my mic again. Sorry about that. It's another quick update for y'all. The orbital launch mount is still venting quite a bit. Whenever that venting stops, I expect to see the booster get filled again, if it's going to get filled. So step 1, we need to see the venting from the orbital launch mount stop. Step 2 is we need to see a frost ring grow on the bottom of the booster. If we see those two things, those will be a good indication that we're still planning on a static fire today. We've already seen a spin prime test, which is when you load liquid oxygen through the turbo pumps of the engines. This is a usual precursor to a static fire. And we've seen a test of the water, the suppression system. So that is new and exciting, and again, something I would not be surprised to see prior to a static fire test. So whatever testing they've done today, huge step forward, very good, but we want to see that static fire, or I want to see that static fire. It's some of the most exciting testing you can see down here. And I think that is a major step forward in getting this off the ground. The orbital launch attempt, we need to see at least a couple more static fires from this booster. So if we get one done today, I think that puts us in a real good place to try to see an orbital flight test sometime in the next 2 to 3 months, or quicker if they can pull it together quicker. But so we're just hanging out, enjoying the weather here on South Padre Island, doing some work in the back end, and just waiting to see what's up next. So thanks for hanging with us. We're not going anywhere yet, and just feel free to any questions or anything, drop in the chat. I'm here. I'll answer them. And let's see what's next. I am going to make one adjustment to the camera. So the camera is going to go away for a second. You're going to see some camera settings for a brief moment here. So just stand by. All right, back to the view. quick update for anybody just joining. We have two things that we're looking forward to happen. One, we want to see the orbital launch mount at the base there of the vehicle stop venting. Two, we want to see a frost ring grow on the base of Booster 7. Those two things need to happen before we can consider that we're still having a static fire. But hey, here's a good indication. The fact that we haven't seen a road opening or anything, like they're still doing testing here. So I think we're in pretty good shape right now for there still to be a potential static fire today. So waiting for those two things to happen. Those are two big milestones that'll indicate we're going in the right direction. So stand by. I appreciate how Hoppy, or Starhopper, is just kind of hanging out over on the right-hand side of the screen, just watching it all happen. From a somewhat safe distance. I'd still like to see them move that out of the launch site, but that thing is literally a tank, so... hanging out and waiting for the next couple milestones that will give us an indication that SpaceX is going for a static fire. While we're waiting for that, I do want to take a moment just to thank everybody that's been hanging out in this stream so far here today. It's the only reason why we can do this stuff is by having you hang out, watching, commenting, interacting in the chat. You know, a subscription and a like goes a long way. So thank you so much for everybody who's supported us in any of those various ways today. This is such an amazing return to streaming here on Rocket Future. I couldn't be any more grateful, so thank you so much. We're going to document this project together, and we're going to see some crazy stuff, some good stuff, some not so good stuff, and we're going to all share those experiences, and that's the whole point of this whole thing. I want to get y'all into this and get you excited about it and keep you updated on what's happening. So again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for hanging out here today. I'm not going anywhere yet. We're still waiting to see if for a static fire, but I did just want to take a moment to thank everybody because it means a lot. So thank you.
They haven't scrubbed it, have they?
No, not yet. Yeah, I'm still waiting to get any kind of update. Yeah, all the vents are still running. I'm not sure, they might just be evaluating. Never really have it done. It's still getting fired up, they're just not. They filled it up earlier, they did what's called a spin class test. They run the helms through those. That looked good. They did a fire extinguisher system test. Those look good. Yeah, we're waiting for them to fill it back up to do the static fire test. There's still a lot of vent feedback. So it's a waiting game. Yeah, all this is still experimental. Yeah, anytime between now and 8, really. That's the best I can do.
It's getting a bit windy down here.
No, the best we got is just these guys. These guys kind of have people over there that just for that siren. That's kind of the siren. And then they kind of tell once it starts fueling up. So yeah, there's no way to listen in on the phone. There's no official communication.
One thing I will take a moment to note is that we've seen static fires more than once happen right around that 4 o'clock to 4:30 time frame. So is that going to be the new attempted T0 time? I mean, that's still a couple hours away. I don't know if they're going to wait that long. If they're going to do it, we'll have to see.
Yeah, that's the build area. That's where they build all the rockets at, and then they drive down the road to the launch complex. Yeah, that's where all the fuel and everything, the launch tower, launch pad, it's all right down there near the beach. That's the big construction area, all the buildings. I've been doing tons of photography and video and stuff. I've been tracking the ball for the past 20 months out. So I'm probably one of the main photographers. Yeah, I'm on Twitter, YouTube.
And while we're sitting here enjoying Booster 7 and its testing campaign, we got our fingers crossed for SLS and Artemis. If you haven't heard, which I'm sure you've heard if you're into the space stuff, but there was a hurricane that came through Florida last night, and some of the worst wind conditions went right through Cape Canaveral and Kennedy Space Center. And of course, Artemis and SLS is out on the pad right now. There's some concerns about the wind gusts and sustained winds going higher than what has been advertised that the booster or the ship can handle. Of course, the SLS is still standing, and obviously that's a very good thing. But teams are going to have to go out and inspect the SLS vehicle to see if they can still launch the Artemis 1 mission next week. I don't think I see it launching next week. You never know. They could go out there and say everything's fine, and they're going to try for the 16th. So November 16th is still the current time frame, but we'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to see. Hopefully, the vehicle is in good shape, but there's some other concerns about the boosters expiring, if they have to move the launch to December, and concerns about if they need to roll it back and do any work to it. At this point, I'm a little bit concerned about the vehicle, so we'll have to see. But hopefully, it's a-okay, and we'll still launch for next week. And if it does, I'm going to be down there in Florida. So if anybody's down there, please feel free to hit me up on Twitter and let me know if you want to meet up or anything, because I'll be down there. But fingers are crossed for SLS, Artemis, NASA, and let's remember that Starship is partially funded by NASA as a human landing system for the moon. So we all want to see Artemis succeed as a series of missions, and we want to make sure that SpaceX is able to deliver those astronauts safely to the lunar surface. So the Artemis mission is good for SpaceX and for Starship. So let's hope that the Artemis SLS vehicle is in good shape. So fingers crossed there. If you're just joining us, we're still waiting to see what is happening next for Booster 7. We got live views. What you're seeing right now is Booster 7 on the orbital launch mount. This view is from South Padre Island. They've been doing some testing today, including a spin prime test and a test of the water deluge system. And the question mark remaining is if they will still go for a static fire test today. A couple strong indications that they are planning on doing a static fire today, so we are holding tight and waiting to see a couple milestones happen that will indicate that we're still heading in that direction. One, we want to see the orbital launch mount on the base of the vehicle down there stop venting. Two, we want to see some frost grow on the bottom of the vehicle, indicating that fueling has started. So when those two milestones happen, that means we're getting closer to a static fire attempt today. So we're just waiting to try to see those two milestones happen. In the meantime, I'm happy to answer any questions you have about Starship, SpaceX, NASA, planets, anything you got space-related at all, or even not space-related. I just appreciate y'all hanging out here today and watching this testing with us today. So we're gonna stand by and wait for these next steps. All right, I have an update for everybody. So look at the base of the vehicle right now. You can see that the tank farm is still venting, but on that right-hand side, that big vent has stopped. So that is one of those two indicators that I've been mentioning a few times today. So this is a good step forward. So if you've been kind of tuning out a little bit and just having this on in the background, it might be time to start tuning back in. So we have two steps that we needed to see to know that SpaceX was still going to go for a static fire today. First one was the orbital launch mount. We wanted to see that stop venting. That just happened, as you can see here in the video. So we're halfway there. Second step is we want to start seeing a frost ring grow at the base of the vehicle. That's going to be a little bit harder for you to see on the video. I'll keep an eye on that with my own eyes. But as soon as we start to see a frost line grow on the bottom of that vehicle, that is a really, really good indication that we're still headed for a static fire today. So I'm feeling a little bit more confident that we still might see something like that happen today. So stand on by, and we'll get an update to you shortly. All right, y'all. I'm going to start putting the microphone outside because I'm seeing a lot of kind of smoke come from the base of the vehicle there. Or not smoke, but vapor. So something's happening. I don't quite know what yet, but let me get the mic outside just in case we see an unexpected static fire happening quicker than we think. All right, at this point, we're still waiting to see some frost lines. So I don't think we're imminent for a static fire. So just stand by, and I'll update you when we see a frost line and if we're going to be on short notice for a static fire. So stand by. Alright, just in case they start tanking again, I have some other cameras set up. So let's hope we see a frost line grow.
That's cool. That's real cool.
All right, we have a non-update. It's not an update, but it's kind of an update, whatever you want to call it. For anybody joining, thanks for hanging out. My name is Andrew. This is Rocket Future. We're waiting to see what's going to happen next with Booster 7 out here on the test stand. So far today, we have seen a spin prime test and water deluge test, and maybe a third test too, that we saw underneath the vehicle. It was interesting, but we're basically waiting to see if they're going to refuel this thing for a static fire. That's the story here. I just chatted with somebody that was just walking around waiting to see what SpaceX was doing, and had a great conversation. So I've stepped away from the stream for a bit. I don't have any major updates for you, but one update that I could tell you about is if you take a look at the launch tower, the chopsticks or the catch arms or the arms, whatever you want to call them, at the up top there, those are still up high. We've seen time and time again that when SpaceX is done testing for the day, they will lower those back into position for to kind of secure the booster in place, or they just lower them down and not have them hanging up there. So the fact that those arms are still way up there and that the road hasn't reopened are all things to indicate that there's still testing to be done today. Now, SpaceX at any point could decide to wrap up. But right now, we have no indication that testing is off. We have no indication that they've scrubbed or anything. We have every indication that would suggest that they're still going for a static fire today. So, stand by with us. Thanks for hanging out. We appreciate you being here. And we're going to be here for a bit longer. I'm going to go check on my battery and all that good stuff. But we're still hoping to see a static fire today. So, thanks for hanging out. Sorry for all the beeping. Lou asks, can I calculate how long it would take for the sound to reach me? So if we have a static fire, I can't even do the quick math on it, but I feel like it usually takes about 10 to 15 seconds. Maybe it takes a little longer. It feels like it takes longer than that, but I'm rounding down just because, like, when I see a static fire, I'm really anticipating the sound, and so it feels like I'm waiting forever for the sound to hit. But it's probably like 10 or 15 seconds, I would imagine. Okay, the OLM vent is back, though. I don't know if that's good or bad. So we are currently in a change of state, which is good. So maybe we'll have an answer of if something is going to happen or not shortly. So stay tuned. "23 seconds?" Tree says. Yeah. It's funny because I would have guessed 20 seconds, but then, like I said, I rounded down just because I felt like it probably feels longer than it actually is. But I guess that makes sense. 23 seconds from 5 miles. Wickdor says, I miss it. You miss Starship? Or are you wondering if you missed the test? In which case, you did not miss any static fire tests. But there was a spin prime test and a water deluge test so far. I just want to see a frost ring. So we have an update. The quick disconnect arm, which is under the chopsticks on the launch tower, looks like it has just moved. So that's either good news or bad news. But probably bad news. So probably what that means is the chopsticks are going to start coming down. I mean, alternatively, if they were moving it out of the way, I think it already would have been out of the way earlier. So I think it's probably being moved for those chopsticks to come back down. So keep an eye out on the chopsticks at the top of the tower there. If those go down, that is an indication that they're probably done with testing for today. But we should see a cool shot of those coming down if that's what's going to happen next. So keep a close eye on those chopsticks on the right-hand side on the tower, near the top of the tower. Everybody loves Hoppy, says Andras. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hopper's the best. Keeping an eye on those arms. Sometimes they're hard to tell when they're going down because they kind of go down slowly, but once the bottom of the arms cross the top of the QD arm, then we have a feeling that those are coming down. So just to kind of give an update here on, summarized, there's still 4 hours of the launch window. So it's possible that testing could still happen today. But if those arms start coming down, my guess is that we're done if those come down. So we're going to wait and we're going to see if those arms come down, indicating that the testing is done. And if they're done testing today, then the next opportunity is Monday. And I will be here as long as I'm not flying to Florida. Whether or not SLS is still scheduled to launch on the 16th, I'll be out there if that's the case. But if they come out in a day or two from now saying that they're not going to try for the 16th, then I will be here covering the next static fire attempt. But just to recap, we're not sure that we're done here. Still over 4 hours in the window. But if I do see those arms come down, then I'm feeling that we might be done for the day. Either that or they're just testing the QD arm. Maybe they're just testing the QD arm. Maybe that really isn't as strong as an indicator as we think. while we're waiting to see what's happening next, I do just want to remind you that we've started sending postcards from Starbase. If you have any interest in getting a monthly postcard from Starbase, check out our Patreon, and I'll paste the Patreon URL in the chat right now. I'll physically send you, well, we'll send you a physical postcard with pictures from Starbase and updates about what's happening down here at Starbase and some fun stories and all that type of stuff. So I will post a Patreon link where you can sign up for those postcards in just a second here. Just keep an eye on the chat. I'm still taking a look at that gap between the QD arm and the chopsticks. I don't see that gap getting bigger. I mean smaller. You know, if that gap gets smaller, that means the arms are coming down. But it almost looks like the QD arm moved back. I don't really know. At this point, this is complete speculation. We don't really know what's happening. All we do know is that they haven't scrubbed the testing for the day as of now. So just stay patient, and we'll see what's going to happen next. Wow, I just noticed that I've received a lot of support today in the manner of subs. So thanks to everybody that has subscribed to the channel today. This is nice to be able to come back and have some great support. So I just noticed that I've gotten some great support today. So thank you. could definitely use a snack by now. I probably should have brought something, but I didn't. But it's alright, I'll get some dinner after this. But I'm definitely, I'm getting to that point where I hope they make a decision soon on what's happening next. But I'll be sticking out here until it's clear one way or the other. At the moment, there's nothing to indicate that we're out of testing. Again, the road's still closed. Chopsticks are still up. We saw a little bit of movement with the QD arm earlier, but I think that was a fake out. So we're currently still in testing configuration. Generally speaking, mentally, I generally start to think that, you know, the later in the day it goes, the less likely it is that a test will happen. But that's definitely 100% not always the case. That's more of just kind of how I've seen things happen in the past. I definitely don't want to miss this if it goes. So we're going to be hanging out here for a while longer until we see some sort of indication one way or the other. And then I think I'm going to get some tacos. There are a bunch of dolphins jumping out of the water right now. I kind of want to see if I can pan over there for you all to see, but I don't know if I get the angle. I don't think I have the angle. But if they come over this way, I'll adjust. So if you look in the orbital tank farm, we see that venting come back, the venting that looks like it's coming from the orbital tank farm. That was gone for a while. So this could be a good indication that they actually are continuing forward. So I think we might learn something here soon. So I know I said this a few minutes ago, but it might be time to pay attention again. Some activity might be coming. All right, so for anybody who is just joining, thanks for hanging out with us. My name is Andrew. This is Rocket Future. We've seen all sorts of different activity here at Starbase today. We saw a spin prime, we saw some water deluge tests, we saw some other funky stuff happening with engine chill, and then it looked like SpaceX was winding down for the day. But since then, I would say we're in a kind of an unknown state, but potentially ramping back up for the day. This is far from over. We could still see a static fire today. We're gonna have to hold tight for just a little bit longer to figure out what's next. So yeah, I mean, I wish I had more to tell you or explain to you why we're all kind of confused at what's happening here today, but SpaceX is just doing different tests, and yeah, we don't know exactly what to expect. But that's part of what the excitement is down here, just seeing what's going to happen next, seeing something new for the first time, seeing stuff done differently. So like, I'm going to repeat one more time, I think a static fire is still on the table for today. We're going to have to hold tight here for a little bit longer to figure it out. So stick with us, and hopefully it'll be worth it. Hopefully we'll see that static fire. So I think it's just about that update time. There has been no additional indications that we're progressing towards a static fire, nor have there been any indications that we are not progressing toward a static fire. So we're literally just in this holding pattern, not sure which way it's going to go. It's about, I give it a 50-50 right now. Honestly, I'm not too sure. So just bear with me and we'll see what happens here shortly. Hopefully shortly, because I'm getting hungry. How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Good, good.
What the rig you got here?
Thank you.
So that's Starlink.
Yep, Starlink and a camera.
Are you with a channel or
Just my own. It's called Rocket Future.
Rocket Future?
Yep. Yep. So came down about 5 months ago and was came down to do this type of stuff. I was working with other companies but
Which one?
the launch pad.
Okay.
But just had like a technical plan. So just kind of getting everything started up again.
Yeah. We have that's my brother's
Okay.
he drove it. We actually drove it last night. He lives in Colorado. He went in November, I flew him in April.
Okay.
So
Oh, nice.
we smashed in Keanu.
Nice.
Up and down Highway 4.
You went down to the beach and everything?
Yes. And well, this is like 90 years ago.
Doesn't it's close back, so that's okay.
Well, yeah, but we were expecting that we were going to visit these things.
Yeah.
I guess they haven't called it off.
Yep. The fact that the farm is still up
Yeah.
is a great indication.
And I guess there's some chilling with the temperatures maybe on the
Yeah,
side.
the loss kind of depends on the signal. So
Yeah.
it's 50-50, but every minute is like a little bit less likely.
Right,
So,
yeah.
but I mean, the fact that farm is still up is good.
Yeah.
They haven't been completely down.
Yeah.
I've never seen one like fully scrap a sunset. I don't even know if they were doing that for sunset. But part of me wants them to do it. That'd be so cool. But I don't think they will.
It's the first actually live action documentary since stuff hopefully next year. I guess
How long are you here?
well, we were supposed to leave Sunday, but there's not going to be any more window until I think Monday because of the holidays and weekend. So we might. That's it. We might have to set it up with Airbnb. No, in about 15.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is I haven't really done anything with him for years as far as like a road trip.
Yeah.
There was a road trip, but this is safe.
Yeah. Do you guys like to drink well or?
He doesn't drink. I do, and he needs to tractor, so it's actually staying on the beach.
Okay.
See the real free spirit guy.
That's
Like,
cool.
he's all this space stuff. So.
Well, on the way over the bridge, you'll notice on the left hand side there's a bar called Coffee House.
We heard about that.
That bar and it's power.
Yes.
It's all SpaceX.
Yeah. We're probably gonna stop there whenever this gets yeah, we were actually thinking check it out.
Gabrielle.
I guess Gabrielle more Rivera.
Oh, okay. I haven't tried that.
He's like he's been on here. He's been here since he was 7. Yeah, we're having some issues with fire. Well, you're fine. You have obviously don't have issues with Starlink.
Oh, sometimes I do. Today has been the best actually ever.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's because like a lot of the tourists have left. A lot of RVs are usually.
Oh yeah, so
sharing.
the bandwidth isn't so.
Yeah, or if maybe it's just getting better. But yeah, it drops.
Yeah.
When we walk the wire, but it's getting better. It's
Yeah.
getting better. Yeah. right, y'all. We have an update. Wake up, wake up. My name is Andrew. This is Rocket Future. There is not going to be a static fire anytime soon today. Most likely not at all today. I'm seeing people report that there are people approaching the roadblock, which means that people are going to be going to the pad soon, which means if there's going to be a static fire, it wouldn't be for a couple hours, and then that's way too close to the end of the window. So we're gonna hedge our bets here and say this is it. We're gonna wrap up for the day, but I will take a quick moment just to thank everybody for hanging out here with me today, checking out what's happening with Booster 7. So much support today in messages and chats and just people hanging out and subscribing and everything. All that stuff helps me so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I'm so happy to be back here. I will paste my Patreon message one more time down here in the chat. We're sending out monthly postcards from Starbase. So if you want some art from Starbase that you can put up on your wall or anything, you can do it via our Patreon. And on the back there'll be this fun information about Starbase and Starship and all that good stuff. So I'm copying that into the chat right now. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and social media. All of that is where we post our updates. Twitter, I'm the most active on right now. We'll see. But yeah, those are the postcards that we offer. That's about it for that. So yeah, thank you everybody. Really appreciate it. Thanks to all the Space Junkie crew for showing you love here today. That was awesome. Appreciate that a lot. We're gonna wrap things up here. Monday is the next possibility for a static fire test. I will be here if Artemis is delayed. If Artemis is not delayed, I will be in Florida and won't be able to cover it. But right now I'd say it's 60-40. I think there's a 60% chance I'll probably be staying. But we'll see. Thank you everybody so much. I'll talk to you soon. My name is Andrew. This is Rocket Future, and we'll see.